Launch any new digital space without a structural protocol, and the entropy of human interaction will inevitably collapse. The endpoint of this collapse is the nihilistic singularity, a dead end where a system ruled by a moral mob clusters turns toxic and implodes. Platform architects typically try to prevent this using judicial force. This model relies on a central authority attempting to stabilize the network by enforcing one specific worldview over another. This approach is brittle. Because it relies on subjective enforcement, the system is easily co-opted by the most charismatic or aggressive users, prioritizing victory over understanding. To fix decentralized networks, architects must stop trying to moderate the content of a discussion and instead moderate the exact mechanical process of the interaction. The Oberon Codification provides this structural protocol. It functions as an external social operating system designed to regulate how a group shares and vets ideas. The objective is to achieve Harmonia. In this architectural blueprint, the system ignores the friction of the ideas being presented. Instead, Harmonia acts as a continuous loop, processing jagged, high-friction inputs without compromising the underlying geometric order of the space. Building this environment requires 3 distinct layers of engineering: mapping the internal cognitive stack of the user, defining the rules for one-on-one exchange, and scaling those rules into a self-governing house. By automating the failure of bad faith actions, network stability becomes an architectural output rather than a result of manual censorship. Every external social rule in the codification is a direct reflection of an internal meta-question stack that processes every new idea we encounter. We can deconstruct the individual user into an analytical engine, a 7-layer cognitive stack. At the base layer, the line asks, "What is this idea?" Failing total inquiry triggers the refusal to read, where pride rejects information entirely. Layer 2 handles context. Failing this triggers the refusal to understand, greedily withholding knowledge. The stack scales upward through the will to apply effort, the honesty of the idea, and how the concept integrates into both external and internal worldviews. It terminates at the peak, the final threshold of trust. When a node in this stack fails, it produces a specific behavioral output, like the refusal to accept a new cause or interpret an idea correctly. These 7 vectors allow us to trace any breakdown in public discourse to a precise processing error. We scale that internal process into a social interaction by assigning 2 roles: the host who listens and the guest who presents. The protocol centers on the collaborative unrobing of an idea to reveal its true intent. The host projects a scanning beam to highlight confusing robed aspects without personal attack. The guest is then obligated to clarify, removing the cover to achieve aletheia, unconcealed truth. If a guest presents an extraordinary claim that contradicts the host's current worldview, they carry the Vulcanologist's burden. They cannot expect trust based on their claim alone. They must present the verifiable process or data that led to their conclusion. This protocol neutralizes conflict by making the process of reaching a conclusion the new common ground. The exchange succeeds only if the methodology is vetted. We can now project this host-guest dynamic onto a massive decentralized platform, translating the microprotocol into a vast interconnected lattice. To build a truly self-governing house, the system grants every member full administrative capability. The security of the space relies on the fact that every user has the power to destroy it. To prevent abuse, the network employs the law of reciprocal consequence. The system mechanically intercepts any attempt to use judicial force against a neighbor. If a user attacks a good faith member, the network reflects that vector back, severing the attacker's connections instead. Because the penalty for a bad faith attack is applied directly to the attacker, the incentive for slander or abusive moderation is removed. You cannot use the system's power to enforce your worldview without exposing yourself to the same judgment. In this environment, tyranny ceases to be a social problem requiring policy and becomes a mechanically self-defeating action. Filtering out deceptive content, or poisoners, requires an anti-censorship mechanism called differentiated vetting. Under the law of sanctuary, any user can delete offensive content, but that action only removes it from their own personal view. While the connection dims for the individual, the action simultaneously flags the content. In our model, this individual deletion causes the idea node to pulse, alerting the surrounding cluster for communal review. This process prevents a single user from acting as a judge for the community, triggering the law of communal harmonia. Only when a supermajority independently rejects the content is it officially removed. As surrounding nodes dim connections, the poisoner is isolated and drops out. Moderation is transformed from the dictate of a central authority into the mathematically verified output of communal consensus. The Oberon duality provides a diagnostic tool to evaluate how leaders and guardians behave within the system. The regressive bad host seeks victory, rejecting connections and defending dogma, causing the network to fracture. This refusal generates spillover chaos, collapsing the shared trust environment. On the right, the good guardian safely routes incoming data, cooling surrounding connections to maintain perfect order. The survival of a network depends on whether its administrators act as participants fighting to win, or as guardians fighting to protect the process of discovery. We traced the individual cognitive stack through the micro-interaction to the macro network's mechanical safeguards. A stable intellectual architecture does not exist to protect users from difficult or alien ideas. Instead, the system forces all users to engage with those ideas honestly. As this matrix self-organizes, it ensures stability despite high-friction data flowing through. Relying on manual policy to outlaw bad faith actions is insufficient, as social rules cannot scale with the speed of digital deception. In this model, honesty isn't a social expectation, it is a mechanical constraint. By hard-coding the Harmonia process into the environment, you ensure the network survives by making deception functionally impossible.